The PlayStation Store is running a great Capcom publisher sale right now, and in today's video, I want to take a look at 10 great deals as a part of that sale. Yes, with just a publisher sale, I'm able to look at 10 great deals, and that's an indictment on how compelling Capcom has been this generation. They have released some awesome games. Yes, some of these games are remasters or ports, but nonetheless, they have put out a lot of great games, and doing this video, it kind of reminds me how great Capcom has been this generation. Arguably the best publisher of this entire generation. That might be a little bit hyperbolic, but when you actually assess their library, man, they've done some really good stuff. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And kicking things off, Monster Hunter World is 60% off, down to $19.99. I feel like this was the game that really kickstarted people realizing how great Capcom had become, because prior to this, they were releasing some cool remasters, some cool ports here and there, but Monster Hunter World was a tremendous game. Of course, Monster Hunter has been around for a very long time, but for a long time, it was more of a niche franchise. It was relegated to platforms such as Nintendo platforms and portable platforms, and not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it didn't have that mainstream recognition that I feel like the franchise deserved. Well, with Monster Hunter World, that definitely changed. With it being released on the PlayStation 4, it opened the floodgates for a lot of new gamers to try it out, and this is a great entry point into Monster Hunter, and for a lot of people, it was their entry point. It's got that fundamental Monster Hunter gameplay. It's incredibly engaging. Yes, it doesn't have the best story in the world, but you're not going into Monster Hunter for a compelling narrative. You're going in there for the gameplay, you're going in there for the monster hunting action, and it definitely offers that. And Capcom has done a tremendous job with keeping the game updated with fresh content. There's a major expansion on the way in Iceborne that'll be coming out in September, and it is a paid expansion. It'll be $40, but nonetheless, they've offered us so much with the base game of Monster Hunter World. I am okay with spending my money on Iceborne. They have earned that. And if you've yet to play MH World, it is available right now for $19.99 as a part of this sale. Next up, here is a remaster that Capcom released earlier this generation of what many would consider to be one of, if not the best PlayStation 2 game of all time, and that is Okami with Okami HD. Okami is a tremendous game. You're gonna see a lot of comparisons to titles such as The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and that's a very positive comparison point, but in my honest opinion, a game like Okami is at the level or even better than a lot of the Zelda games. It is that good of a game. Unfortunately, it never got that worldwide mainstream recognition, so a lot of you guys don't know about it. However, it's a great game from its amazing visuals, great story, and how it tells its narrative. The gameplay's great, and with this version, it does look better. It's not a complete refinement. I mean, this was released at $19.99, so they knew they weren't offering you, a ground-up remake for the PlayStation 4, but it's still a great game, and now available for $13.99. Of course, I would give that a solid recommendation. Next up, we have Resident Evil 2, which is 40% off, down to $35.99. One of the early contenders for Game of the Year. Resident Evil 2 was, of course, a ground-up remake from Resident Evil 2, much different than Okami HD, in that this game took that PlayStation 1 game of Resident Evil 2 and it completely recreated it for the PlayStation 4, and what a wonderful job they did. Visually and technically speaking, this is one of the best looking games that you'll find this generation. From a content standpoint, that's the area where I guess you could be a little bit upset. It's not the lengthiest game in the world, but you're not going into it expecting that. It's a Resident Evil game at the end of the day, quality over quantity, and that is exemplified here. It has a great single player campaign, and Capcom has released some additional content on top of that as well. If you've yet to check it out and you want a quality survival horror game, $36 for RE2 is quite good, and I would definitely give that a look. Okay, next up, wanted to mention another Resident Evil game. If you want a cheaper option, Resident Evil 4 is 60% off, and that can be had for $7.99. Resident Evil 4 is known as the game that took Resident Evil from a more survival horror style of gameplay to a little bit more action-oriented. It definitely has survival horror elements, don't get me wrong, but it also has a lot more action elements in there as well, which does make it cater towards a more mainstream player. But Resident Evil 4, by many, is considered to be the best game in the series. I don't think I necessarily agree with that, but it is a great game. Quality story in here as well. Again, as per usual with Resident Evil games, it's not the lengthiest game in the world. You can complete it rather quickly, but you're only paying $7.99. And if you've never played Resident Evil 4, do yourself a favor and check this one out. While it does have some dated mechanics here and there, I think the entirety of the game definitely outweighs the negative elements that's just introduced based on the fact that it is a little bit dated, but for $8, this is well worth a buy. Next up, we have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, 60% off, and this is down to $9.99. I really wanted to give this a a recommendation because for a lot of you guys, if you played Marvel vs. Capcom this generation, it might have been with the awful Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. That just was not a very good game, but Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is quite good. This is your traditional Marvel vs. Capcom gameplay. It's presented beautifully, and if you're even not too much into fighters, this one is rather engaging for those of you that are much like myself, that are more novice to fighting games, but a lot of fun to be had, a lot of iconic characters in there as well. Again, I know Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a thing, but I just did not find that game very good. The story was so bad in that game. I don't want to go off on a tangent on that, but $10 for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I think this is a pretty good buy. Next up, we have Strider, which is 80% off for $2.99. Strider was one of those games that was released very early on in this generation, and it was a game that at this point I don't see many people talking about, but it was a recreation of Strider, which is one of the more iconic Capcom IPs, and it returned in a brand new adventure complete with incredible side-scrolling action and lightning-fast combat, and in an all-massive interconnected world. Now, this game has been a PlayStation Plus offering. It goes on sale pretty regularly, so it's not like you're completely incentivized on picking this up right here, right now. However, it is a quality side-scrolling action title, and I wanted to give that a recommendation. It does have a free demo as well, so if you're not completely sold on dropping the $3, you can check that out as well. Next up, we have Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, which is 70% off, down to $5.99. Dead Rising, another one of Capcom's iconic IPs, and Dead Rising 2 is a very good game. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record makes it even better, and in this one, Frank West takes center stage in Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. Forget what you know about Dead Rising 2, as players will experience a reimagining of the Fortune City outbreak. The Off the Record storyline means an all-new Dead Rising 2 experience where Frank faces off against hordes of twisted enemies, builds more outrageous combo weapons, follows his own unique mission structure, and explores brand new areas of Fortune City to get his biggest scoop yet. It's a great game, and if you just want some mindless action-oriented fun, you're definitely going to get that out of Dead Rising 2. Unfortunately, Dead Rising more recently with games like Dead Rising 3 and Dead Rising 4 really hasn't hit the quality level of the first two Dead Rising games, but hopefully Dead Rising at some point gets back on track, and we do get a quality title down the line. Next up, I did want to give a mention to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. You're only going to get a 20% off discount on this one. It'll knock it down to $23.99, so not a steep discount on it, but bear in mind that it just came out back in April, and it did release at the budget price point of $29.99. I wanted to give this a recommendation because Phoenix Wright is an unsung franchise, and now that it's on the PlayStation 4, a lot of you guys should be checking it out. Of course, it is a narrative and story-driven experience, very light on the gameplay. Think of something similar to Danganronpa, the Zero Escape games, a visual novel style of experience. Now, these games originally released on the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS, so visually they're nothing to write home about either, but now they come to the PlayStation 4, they look a little bit better, and you've got the 3 original games in the collection, and all of that's coming at $24, essentially 8 games a piece. I think that's pretty good, and you get a lengthy amount of content here, with all 14 episodes spanning the first 3 games in one gorgeous collection. Check it out for yourself if you are looking for a story-driven adventure. A little bit difficult, you really do have to pay attention to the little details, but it's a very rewarding game at the same time. Next up, we have Devil May Cry 5, which is 34% off for $39 and change. Devil May Cry 5 is another one of my favorite games of the year. Really, this and Resident Evil 2 are two of the front runners for Game of the Year, and it'll be interesting when it comes time to make that decision, but Devil May Cry 5 was a great game. Another title that it doesn't have a lot of content, however, the content that you do get has a lot of quality. The gameplay is incredibly stylish, the music is great, the story is a little bit muddied here and there, but it's a Devil May Cry story. You know it's gonna be a little bit zany, you know it's gonna be a little bit wacky, but I found it pretty compelling the whole way through. This is another one that does have a free demo, so if you need to check that out, by all means do that. Especially considering this is the most expensive game I've mentioned, I can understand why you can still remain a little bit skeptical. However, once you experience that gameplay, once you get a taste of that music, I think you guys will be won over by it. Even if you haven't played a Devil May Cry game in the past, this is a pretty good entry point. They do have a recap of the existing titles. Honestly, I would just jump in, expect some great gameplay, expect some great presentation elements, and do expect some great music. And lastly, I want to give a shout to Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which is 40% off for $17.99. Now, that $17.99 price point is the really thing that put me off a little bit. However, Dragon's Dogma is such a great game. Now, this game was originally released all the way back in 2012 on the PlayStation 3, and it was a great game then, unfortunately hampered by some technical issues. That, of course, has been remedied with this version on the PlayStation 4. Looks great, plays great, and you still get that challenging open-world action RPG, and you can explore the huge world better than ever. Now, why that $17.99 price point is a little bit off-putting, it's just because this game has been down to like south of $10 on PC. I wish we could get a similar price point on consoles, but nonetheless, it's still such a great game with a sizable amount of content, so much to do, and quality gameplay to boot. that I thought it would be worth a recommendation, especially because as far as the PlayStation 4 version goes, it doesn't see many deep discounts, so I wanted to give that a shout as well. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, really highlighted how great Capcom has been this generation. A lot of remasters, a lot of ports, but with games like Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, I didn't even mention Mega Man 11 because I didn't like the little discount they were offering on that game, but Mega Man 11 was tremendous as well. They've offered a lot of quality games this generation, so check out the deals that are available right now as a part of this publisher sale. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.